y'all don't burn bridges. Oh my gosh, you don't know who will be in charge someday. Don't get too fancy and be kind and network to every single person you possibly can. Anyone that will shake your hand, shake it, and go to every networking event and go to every free speaking thing, because that's what's going to get you ahead. Even if you have two people that are the same level of creativity and skill, the person that has the relationships is the one of value. And I think people forget that, like you said, that human aspect of it.
Hello, beautiful, creative people, and welcome to the Keep Creating podcast presented by Soundstripe, the podcast created by creators for creators. Every episode, we seek out successful creatives who dedicate their lives to pursuing a creative trade or career. We ask them some questions and soak in all the truth their stories seep. Also, we can package it up and provide more creatives like you the inspiration, education, and tools to grow in your own unique pursuit to keep creating. I'm Joel Porter, and I'm excited for the opportunity to host this show and dialogue with our guests about what creativity looks like in their lives. So, without any more delay, thanks so much for listening, and let's get started. Painter Chuck Close famously said, "Inspiration is for amateurs. The rest of us just show up and get to work. If you wait around for the clouds to part and a bolt of lightning to strike you in the brain, you're not going to make an awful lot of work. All the best ideas come out of the process. They come out of the work itself." Though there are many words that help us understand the creative process, the words inspiration and passion are two that are often brought up and discussed among creative types. But I believe there's a reason Chuck Close chooses not to depend on inspiration. According to its Greek definition, inspiration comes from the words inside and to breathe. It's an emotion we experience, and most of the time, it's passive. It's a gift we receive or a breath of beautiful clarity that gives us direction. Passion's Greek translation, on the other hand, means to suffer or to be acted on. By this definition, passion is something we willingly desire and choose to do, even though it brings us a certain level of suffering. It's a commitment. It's a deep, deep love. So, with these definitions in mind, think for a moment. What in life are you truly passionate about? Hannah Schneider, above all, has passion for her work. Schneider's 10 years in public relations and social media includes work as a social media manager, publicist, founder and CEO of Hannah Schneider Creative, founder of Kettner Coffee Supply, and managing partner at Brand House. Her work has been featured on local and national outlets such as Good Morning America, The Today Show, Cosmopolitan, Wall Street Journal, and the New York Times. Now, with intros out of the way, let's talk creativity with Hannah Schneider. All right, today I want to welcome Hannah to our creative podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for being on the show. I mean, you are doing us the favor here. I guess, like I do every single show, I'm going to start off with a pretty general question.
Okay.
And I want you to answer however you'd like.
Okay.
So, how would you describe yourself as a creative?
Oh my gosh. Type A.
Okay.
I'm somehow both creative, but like manic about being organized. And I think that's what's led me to starting to build a team under me. But yeah, it's like manic ideas and thoughts at all times. So like learning how to store that and work with it has been a process.
It's actually a really interesting place to start because I'm sure you're not the only creative person out there who has floods of thoughts coming in all at once about everything all the time. So how did you go from recognizing that, oh, within all these thoughts, there's little pieces of gold to actually like extracting them, acting on them, and letting those things lead you down certain creative paths?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. I think for me, I'd try everything and like 30% of it will stick and 70% doesn't. I see a lot of times in our field, like people are just crippled by failure and like fear of failing. And I just don't care. Like if I have an idea, I'm going to roll with it and kind of go from there. It's not super thought out.
Sure.
But for me, that's always worked best. So yeah, if I, at 4 a.m. get an idea, I usually like get up, type it in my phone or go write it out and then figure it out the next day. Like Google it.
So how did you get to a place where you felt comfortable doing that and standing up to aspects and troubles and hurdles like fear and procrastination and things like that?
I hate to say this because I don't think it provides a ton of value to people that might just not have this. But for me, I feel like it was just really like how I was raised and just like, it's just like an internal thing. Like
Hmm.
I was raised to try anything. Like my parents were really supportive of any of our kind of like weird dreams or aspirations. I had a weird path, like graduated high school early because I hated school. Went to college early, hated college. I don't know why I thought that would change.
Well, it was the standard. That's what you did.
Yeah, it's what you
know?
did. You graduate
Yeah.
and then you go to the next thing. And I so vividly remember like sitting down with my dad and he was like, if you're not going to go to class, like, A, don't waste my money. And B, don't waste your time. Like, I feel very lucky in that I knew kind of what I loved to do from a very young age. And he was like, just go start working, like, go start learning
Hmm.
from people that you know, admire. And that's what I did. And I feel like that was such a big moment for me. I still think of it to
Yeah.
this day. It was like, you don't really have to do what everyone else is doing, or even all my older siblings did. Like, he was like, that's not you. And so I would largely put it back to my parents.
Well, I mean, that's incredible that you
Yeah,
had that
grateful
support.
for that.
Yeah, very much so. From that moment on, did your path look like? What was your journey towards where you are creatively today?
So I always worked in restaurants as a side gig. It was just like an easy way. I think a lot of creatives,
Oh, yeah.
like, yes, you want to design or create or make music, but like, you know, you got bills to pay, you got to eat. So I kind of made my way through working in restaurants. And I just worked for free as long as I could on the side in what I knew I wanted to do. So I'm in marketing and public relations and digital marketing. And like anyone that would let me come shadow them or work for them, I would do that during the day for free and try to learn as much as I could. Like I knew I didn't have value for them yet,
Hmm.
but I knew if I worked for them for free, I eventually would have value. So yeah, worked at night in restaurants, I mean, till like 4 years ago.
Wow.
And then did as many internships as I could. That was really hard at the time because I wasn't in school. So no one would hire me for an
Hmm.
internship. It was technically illegal. We found ways around that. And then I think it was my third or fourth internship with a PR firm. That was my first job in like a 9 to 5 setting.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So then these people would technically be like early mentors. So how did you go and find these people and look for like specific people to help you get to the place that you wanted to be?
Yeah, I just made lists of companies that I thought I would like to work at someday. And I would just email them. At the time, I mean, I was 18 years old. Instagram was brand new.
Hmm.
So this was 10 years ago. I say that I'm like a very good stalker, but that's worked to my benefit. But I would engage with these people. Like I would follow them on social media. I would engage with like, I wanted to make sure that they knew I was serious and I wasn't going anywhere, especially when I had 50% of girls from my school were going to like UC schools that also wanted to do PR. So like
Yeah.
I had to somehow stick out. I would just say like relentlessly knocking on doors until someone just finally gave me that first opportunity.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, just researching, like the internet is the biggest tool that people are underutilizing, but like you can find anyone's contact information. I would just cold email people and be like, I think I want to do this. I'm willing to do this for you. Like, will you give me a shot? I had started taking photos for the restaurant I was working at the time. So I would also just offer like photography for free in exchange to like come work in their office.
Man, I feel like there's a lot to unpack there.
There's a lot.
There's a lot of really good information there. I think the first thing I want to touch on is you said that you would just kind of cold call these people. You'd follow them. You'd start to admire some of their work, kind of immerse yourself in what they were doing. When you were ready to reach out to them, was there anything that you did in particular, or anything that you said, or was there a particular way you approached these people to, one, let them know that you were genuine and that you had done your research to seek these people out, and two, to make it not spammy?
Right. Yeah. I think you nailed it. Just the research in itself was different. I think companies like us now, like I get hundreds of applications a month from girls that think they want to work in PR that probably don't know what that means yet.
Right.
And I think I was really well researched before I emailed them. Again, everything I learned, I literally can like tie back to somehow working in restaurants. But like as a hostess, it was a really fine dining steakhouse I was working at this time. 18 years old. It was like downtown. I was wild partying every night. But they taught me that we would Google every reservation before the night service to see if there was someone famous that we needed to know about because it was such a high-end restaurant. A lot of, the clients that came in were, in politics or, whatever it might be. So we would Google the reservations and put in any notes we could find about them before they walked into the restaurant. So when they walked in, I would have some, personal thing I could relate to if possible. So I remember, one of the gentlemen that came in, his daughter was like an avid piano player. And one of the hostesses on our team was a piano player. So we just like brought it up when they came in, which felt really creepy at the time, but they remembered it and they came back. So I would always try to find something that I could relate to with whoever I was cold pitching to make sure that they knew like I did my work and I'm not just like a random cold call.
Sure. So like trying to establish some form of personal connection.
Always.
Okay.
I get, even still like at our office, I get so many salespeople in like HR or payroll companies that pitch us that want our business. I ignore all of them besides one gentleman one day, I think about a year ago. I came into my desk and there was an Otis Redding album on my desk with a note. And he was in HR. I don't need HR yet. We do it in-house. But I was like, I'm going to take a meeting with him and like hear him out because he researched in my bio. It says that's my favorite artist.
Wow.
And like, I just appreciated that touch. So that's something I really try to tie into everything that we do.
Regarding PR, since that's where you do a lot, I know you have a lot of creative stuff going on, and we'll get into that. But regarding your work in PR, what are some of the things creatively, like within the creative process of your daily life, what are some of the things that you love, and what are some of the things that really frustrate you?
So the love is that I do get to brainstorm with an amazing group of women every day and come up with ideas that I think for me, we work with a lot of locally owned businesses, and it's really cool to see the results when we can change. If someone might be on the cusp of closing and they bring us on and we're able to turn that around. So coming up with unique ideas, I love just like reading about trends in our industry and making sure that we're then like elaborating on those and coming up with cool and unique ideas. I think the hard part is, for the most part, we work with restaurants and bars and chefs, and how unique can a margarita be year after year?
Right.
So like that in itself is a challenge, and just making sure that we are reinventing ourselves without like straying too far off from our clients' brands, and making sure that like the origin and what they set out to do is still the core of our storytelling, because that's what we are. We're storytellers to the media, and we hope to God someone picks it up and wants to write about it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd say like day to day, my job is coming up with unique kind of angles that make our clients stand out from the rest. And to be honest, some of them don't. And we have to be really creative in that like we have to come up with those stories or be the trendsetters before someone else is picking up on it.
That just requires
a lot of reading, I would say. Like I'm constantly reading trade magazines, watching TV shows that have, chefs or cooks on it.
So really your job never stops.
I would say like I'm at all times taking in content to make sure that I can then churn it out in a cool way that benefits our clients.
Is that ever overwhelming? Do you ever feel like there's like a plateau, or it's just overflowing?
Yes.
You're too full?
It's absolutely. But I think, as cheesy as this sounds, like I love what we do. And when I interview people, I'm like, hey, heads up, like if you don't live and breathe this, like it's going to suck. Like this job is going to be really hard. It's not going to be that fulfilling. But like if you love it the way I do or our current staff does, like it's also the coolest, most fulfilling job in the world. But without the passion, it's tough. Yeah.
I mean, that's an important point to hit home also. The fact that it becomes less, I mean, it's obviously work. And like it's not easier. It doesn't make
Sure.
it easier just because it's a passion, but because it's a passion, it makes it worth it. And
Absolutely.
it answers the why. Like,
Yeah.
why am I doing this? Because I love it.
Yeah,
So I mean, thank you.
I
Thanks
do.
for saying that. It's an important point to hit home, especially for creatives.
Yeah, it is. And I think also knowing what specifically you love and finding that and sticking to it, because it'd be really easy for me to do marketing for maybe a healthcare company that has a lot more money than a restaurant or a hotel. But that's not what I do. And that's not what I'm passionate about. And I don't think the paycheck is worth it. And so I think if you can hold out, which is why I worked in restaurants for so long, is I knew my sweet spot and I knew what I was good at. And I also knew if I took clients that weren't in my wheelhouse that I couldn't absolutely kill it for, it would be detrimental to my business. And so, and I see a lot of people make that mistake.
Yeah. So it sounds like, based on that last comment, that you do a lot of work on being self-aware. You do a lot of work on finding your strengths and knowing your weaknesses. How does that process work for you?
This is funny timing. I've made that a priority this year, actually.
Oh, okay.
So speaking of content.
Well, you already sound like a pro. I just want to like throw that
I'm
in
not.
there.
I'll give you a good example, but some people hate him, but whatever. I'm on the Gary Vaynerchuk train. And one thing that I really got from him and that I've had to work on was just like, yeah, that self-awareness. Like, I was a really good publicist when I worked at other PR firms, but being a manager, it was not super easy for me. It's actually something I have to like actively work on. And I'm not kidding, like 3 months ago, I literally Googled how to be empathetic at work because I found myself being short with the staff or not being as patient. But yes, I think learning to be self-aware so that I can be a better leader or I can hire better people that have strengths where my weaknesses lie are so important if you want to scale a business.
So what are some ways that you've done that besides Googling how to be empathetic?
Like, I literally watch TED Talks. I read leadership books and I listen to like business podcasts. And I think some of it comes naturally in that like my strong suit is certainly working with the clients and coming up with strategy that works, but surrounding myself with people who are better. You know, everyone says this, but it's so true. I think the biggest challenge for me is I've had to learn how to delegate and not micromanage. And again, a lot of managers or business owners, I think, struggle with that or speak to this, but really just let go of things that I don't need to be doing and just trust that, you know, the people I've hired is who I'm putting my trust in. So I have to believe that they'll get the job done. And if they don't, then we deal with it. But I think stepping away and like being able to see the full picture and focus my time on growing the business is what I need to be doing.
Awesome. Would you be willing to share an example of like a major failure or a setback that you've had in your creative journey?
I moved to Nashville. I met this great gal when I was living in Austin, Texas. Again, I had the operations background at that point. She wanted to open a restaurant here. I was living in New York and was like, sure, I'll come for a year. That sounds awesome. And the restaurant was doing really well. And after my year was up, I kind of stepped away from being the GM and just focused on the PR and marketing side of it. And it didn't continue to take off, you know, and despite all of our efforts or even all of the press that we were still getting, which is, I think, a shocking piece to people. From the outside, it looked like we were killing it, but just like numbers weren't adding up. So ultimately, my business partner decided to close it. And I think being in a new city, that's largely like people actually didn't know I had a PR firm. They just knew me from the restaurant.
Sure.
And so I really had to like re-educate I had to like reintroduce myself to everyone I met in a different format, which was tough. But it also taught me what I don't want to do, which is super valuable. So I am still running like a food and beverage business. I opened a coffee shop, but I knew from the get-go, I did not want a full bar. I wanted a really small staff. I didn't want to have cooks. Like, we don't have a kitchen. So it's very simple. And that was really intentional, but I don't think I would have gone that route without that experience. So good and bad. But that's like, my restaurant closed.
Yeah. Besides understanding where you want it to go, what were there any other takeaways from the restaurant closing, or any other things that you learned in terms of like why this sort of thing
Um,
happened?
I I think it made me a little more aware and conscious of like budgets and finance. So again, as a creative, I've been like good with numbers. Like I always liked math, but it certainly wasn't where I was spending my time and energy. And I see a lot of people also doing this, like a lot of freelance graphic designers or other creatives that aren't budgeting for taxes or labor or overhead, and they get themselves in a tricky
Yeah,
spot.
I have
So
been one of those designers
yeah,
before.
we all have. Oh my gosh, at the end of the year I'm like, "Oh, I owe all these
Yeah.
taxes and I have no money. Like how did this happen?" So I will say what I learned is to make like personal finance and budgets a serious part of how I spend planning for my businesses, which I never would have done. Like I just kind of figured it out usually.
So doing the things that you need to do.
Proactive, not
Yeah.
reactive.
Yes.
That's the
That's
theme.
another theme. Do the things you need to do.
Yeah. Do
Not
them ahead.
necessarily the things you want to do.
Right.
But make sure you do them and do them before you're supposed to do them.
Yeah, and like you have to learn that. You don't that's not just like common sense. I didn't know Tennessee tax laws. Like I
Right?
had to like schedule out time in my day to teach myself that and learn it or surround myself with people that did know it. So creatives, go get your bank statements in order.
So talking a little bit about the things that you need to do before doing the things that you want to do, do you have daily habit? Do you wake up and have like a ritual to start your day or before you do something creative? Do you have a certain series of events that you've picked up?
Kinda. Yeah, so I lay out my calendar the night before every day.
Okay.
So if I don't have meetings, I'm usually like in workout clothes with a top knot and no makeup on. That way it's more so I know if I need to wash my hair or not, which I did wash my hair today. So yeah, I like bullet out my calendar. And then as a team, the agency and I, we have a morning call. We call it the top of minds every day at 9:15. We all run through our to-do list. We use a program called Basecamp to help organize us all. And it's just sort of like an accountability thing. Again, some projects in design or, this creative field might take 30 minutes and you just like get it. And some might take 4 hours. So we just kind of hold each other accountable on like what has to get done that day. And then we can prioritize accordingly. We can move things back if they're not due that day for clients. But it's just like a good team discussion
Yeah.
to regroup every morning. So that is an always. And then I have figured out, again, back to like self awareness, like when I work best doing what. So, like any admin or number stuff, I can do in the office fine. I just put music on and kind of bust it out. But if I'm writing or editing, I cannot be in the office. There's just like too much chatter. People are asking me questions all the time. Like I have to get into the zone when I'm writing.
Hmm.
So I'll either like go to a coffee shop or go home and do it. And I think just trying to figure out like when you're the most efficient at those tasks is really important. And I tried my best to encourage my team to do that too, is like I would keep a journal of like when I could get things done really well. Sometimes I can like bust stuff out at night so quickly that would take me so long in the morning. And it sounds cheesy, but I would literally like take note of what time I was getting things done and it felt good. And then I sort of like block out my calendar that way.
Yeah. So like doing a personal audit.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a matter of, for you, it seems like it's a matter of environment and it's a matter of time of day.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Like mornings, I'm not well. Like I'm not a morning person. I never have been. It's still hard for me. I've tried like exercising in the morning to like jumpstart the day. That's kind of helping. I think it's fluid too. Like I think this will change in chapters of your lives
Sure.
and that's okay.
Yeah.
But just like paying attention to, I'm really about like being the most efficient I can be. It's the only way I can manage all of these projects and team members. So that's something I'm like constantly working on.
Yeah. That's all great stuff. I think everybody should do themselves a favor
Yeah.
and just understand yourself when it comes to how you work.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't have to be anything. That's something, doing this, it's been really interesting to hear all the guests talk about their different habits and talk about their different practices. And not one has been the same.
Interesting.
Not one has been, oh yeah, I get up I mean, we've had guests wake up at 5. We've had guests wake up at noon and stay up till 3. We've had, breaks during the day. Like personally, I can work really well in the morning, and then I need, I can work a little bit, but then once it hits the afternoon, it's like 4 o'clock.
Right.
I am done until about 7 or 8, and then I can get things ready again. So it's just interesting. Not to talk about myself.
No,
we're here to talk about you.
But I'm just understanding that environment, and if you need to take a walk for 15 minutes, go take a walk or get some fresh air or just figure out, what works for you. On Thursdays, I know I'm always exhausted from the week, and I work out at 1 o'clock in the middle of the afternoon, which totally screws up my schedule, but I need that time out of the office to get through the next day and a half. So currently that's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And I take my lunch and I go to the gym, which I regret every time, but I'm trying.
I love it though. I love it.
Yeah, I think my days are so packed, I'd have to time block pretty much every second of the day. So that's the only way it would work for me.
Hey friends, like always, I have to give a shout out to our Artists of the Week, Fairlight, for their work on the track, Keys and Thank You. I'm always taken back by the original music our musicians create every day. Seriously. Just take a second and listen to a little more of this song. So good, right? Well, the good news is you can license Keys and Thank You and a bunch of other tunes for your creative projects by simply heading to soundstripe.com/keepcreating. There you'll find a custom playlist of all the songs we use on this show. And if you like that playlist, make sure to check out some of the other curated playlists featured on our app. I'm positive you'll find something you love. Just remember, soundstripe.com/keepcreating. All right, let's hear more from Hannah. What are 3 books or different materials? They could be books or podcasts, media resources. So you said you watch TED Talks.
Yeah.
What are 3 media resources that you would recommend a creative individual to help them to the next stage or the next level of potential that they could reach?
Okay, I swear if you can handle Gary Vaynerchuk, I pretty much force my staff to read all of his books. I don't know, something about his content is redundant, but it works. It has worked for me, I will say. Mine's pretty specific to my industry, so I hope this is helpful, but pretty much every industry needs social media and digital media marketing right now. So I also read and listen to Social Media Examiner. It's pretty much like a blog that tells you daily changes for any platforms, and then they also speak to best practices. So for me, that's really important because I always need to make sure I'm staying up on the latest. If Instagram changes tomorrow, I have to change for 30 clients. So we have to know right away. So that kind of keeps me in check. And then I love just TED Talks and sometimes that really aren't specific to my industry. I find those can be the most helpful. So don't feel like you have to be so specific. Sometimes people that work in a totally different field will have insight, or they'll just say something that will really spark something within you. Those would be my 3.
Okay. Those are great.
I don't know if those are creative, but they're more business related.
All you social media influencers out there.
Oh, yes. Here we go.
Yeah, anybody who is marketing their product, their creative product on a social media platform, Social Examiner?
Social Media Examiner.
Social Media Examiner. Okay.
Yeah, it's good.
Check it out.
And they're quick blog posts, so it's not going to take you forever. Which
Perfect.
I like.
Make it a part of your routine every day to read. Take 15 minutes.
Yes.
Anyway, you do whatever you want. You're creative. You can figure it out. You're an adult, probably. Speaking of social media, this is something that I think has been really interesting as well, talking to different creatives in different fields. Obviously, in certain creative practices and crafts and professions, social media plays a huge part.
For sure.
What do you think are some benefits of social media? And what do you think are some things that you wish or hope social media takes on in the future?
Okay. I feel like this is going to sound cliche, but I really, truly mean it. I think the benefit is you, for free, have the capability to connect with anyone pretty much in the world that you want to. You can get in front of their eyes. You can DM them. You can engage with them on social media platforms. That's insane. If you step back and actually see the community that Instagram or Facebook, that they've created, it's crazy. That didn't happen 15 years ago. if I wanted to get someone's attention, I had to like knock on their door and like literally knock.
Yeah.
So I think the benefit is I think it's the most powerful networking tool on the planet. I also think it's the most powerful advertising tool on the planet. And currently it's so undervalued. I met with a potential client this week that I won't give details, but they're spending, I'm not kidding, 40 grand a month on TV ads. And I lost my shit. Like 40 grand a month on Facebook would change their business. And he's an older gentleman. He's not super familiar with social media. He needed to hear that.
Yeah.
I could not believe it. I was like, I haven't had, and I'm his target demographic. I haven't had cable in
Right.
6 years.
No. Netflix,
It's
Hulu,
insane.
everything. Yeah.
Nothing. So I think it's highly underutilized. That said, I think it's also created this sense of like, you have to be a certain way or you have to fit a certain mold and set sort of unreasonable expectations for people. I one time had someone apply for a job with our agency and he didn't get the job. And he was so mad. And he said to me, well, I have 100,000 followers and you have 8,000. So good luck. You needed me. And first of all, I was cracking up because he was an asshole.
Yeah.
But I just was like, oh, like he's putting his value in these followers. And
In the numbers.
if Instagram, turned off tomorrow, majority of people would not have a business that could sustain itself. And so I think it's tricked people in putting their value in the wrong places. As much as I say it's the most powerful tool, it can also, like, you cannot just rely on that. And I've seen people, I would say, like, go out of their norm or do things that aren't necessarily like them on the inside just to like adhere to these like posting requirements that people make like set for themselves.
Yeah.
That's not true or real. And we do a lot of influencer marketing for our clients. And to be honest, it's something I like internally struggle with, where like there is value when done correctly. There's no question, but there's so many people that are doing it incorrectly that are putting these people on a pedestal that again could like hurt their business or
Right.
aren't going to be a smart return on their investment. So yeah, like doing that smartly, but I don't know, like relationships on Instagram, like you're posting a picture of your boyfriend and actually he did something horrible to you the night before. I don't know. I just think mentally it can really, really trick you. And I think you have to be really careful.
What are some ways that you, working in that platform, in those platforms constantly, what are some ways that you keep your business and
Sanity.
yourself and sanity? Yeah, but keep yourself in check and work towards being accountable and work towards being authentic and work towards being, trying to establish true relationships with people who you want to be friends with.
Yeah. I try to show the good, the bad, and the ugly. Like, I don't think my dad still knows what I do for a living. I think he thinks I like drink champagne and take pictures for my career because that's what's a lot of times shown on our Instagram feed because that is what people want to see. So something I've been pretty harping on in the past year with our team is like showing the behind the scenes and again, providing value to people. There's no tricks in what we do. Like you can Google anything, any service that I offer in my business, you can Google it and figure it out. That doesn't scare me. I think like I'm happy to give everything I know and provide that transparency because I actually think in the long run that positions us as leaders in the field and people will come to trust us. I think there's a lot of fakers in creative roles, good talkers, or, I think people sometimes are, again, just chasing a quick buck. That's just like never been what drives me. So I feel like we have a way of showing that authentic side of like, actually, we're not on like parties all night drinking champagne with rock stars. We're like in our office reading magazines and trying to write press releases and like working 12 hours a day.
Right. Going across the street for soft serve ice cream.
Yeah, yes, which is so necessary. Yeah, and Instagram, like I've tried in the past, actually just like few months to just like on when I'm not working on my personal stuff, no one cares what I made for dinner. Like,
Right.
I just am trying really hard to be more present with my boyfriend or with friends when I'm with them. I had a friend tell me that she just started deleting her Instagram. She works in a similar industry. She has to be on Instagram for work, but she's deleted her page. She just deletes it from her phone on the weekends. And like she said, by miles, her like way of life, like she's just like doing more things. She couldn't believe how drastic the change was. I can't quite do that because I have to check our clients' posts every day and make sure there's no errors. But when that's done, I'm really trying to log off.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see how that works.
Limiting time,
Yeah.
being present. Love
Exactly.
it. Those are all super valuable things. What's a piece of advice that you would give your younger self?
Oh my gosh. I was like such a bad kid.
I don't believe it for a second.
Horrible. I was like the nightmare teenager, like troublemaker of my town. Honestly, I would have been kinder to people, like just kinder. I mean, I meet with people all the time and I I think that's something people just forget to do and it goes a really long way. And again, on social media, it's really opened my eyes to, I think people are being more vulnerable on it, which is great. Sharing struggles, whether that's relationships or past abuse of some sort or struggling to make a family. And it just is it's like in your face now. So I think it's something I'm constantly trying to remind myself. Like if someone's rude to me at the coffee shop or not kind on the phone or they, cut me off, it's like my initial reaction is like I'm sassy as hell. I want to get right back in, but I'm just trying to remember like I have no clue what happened to them today or yesterday. So I was like such a mean girl in middle school. Like I like want to call people from my town and be like, I'm so sorry. But yeah, I would be a kinder person in my younger years. And I am now. And it's something I really try to be, which sounds weird that you have to like think about being nice.
I mean, we're also distracted. So I'm not surprised by that. It's a great answer.
And like, I'm just like sassy. Like, that's just who I am. But I just would have been, just like an extra smile or like sit with someone at lunch that was alone. I don't know. It's like weird, but it's probably like my only regret,
Yeah.
a nicer teenager.
Yeah. That's a good reminder for everybody. You sound like a really motivated person.
I can't sit still.
Really quickly, tell us everything that you've got your hands dipped in right now.
Okay. So I have Hannah Schneider Creative. That is my social media and PR agency. I started that in New York about 6 years ago, opened an office here in Nashville 3 years ago. I own Kettner Coffee Supply on the east side.
We're big fans of Kettner here.
We love it. It's so fun. It's really, it's been such a great project. We are opening our second location next week in Midtown.
Congrats.
Thank you. So that will be really fun. I just partnered with an amazing designer here in town named Lisa Field to launch a branding and a web agency called Brand House. And I'm opening a podcast studio, hopefully in the next few weeks. That's just like a really affordable, fun place for people that can just like book by the hour. And we will provide all of the equipment and editing for you. So yeah.
So you are providing so many creatives opportunities to work, places to work, coffee to drink, pretty much fueling creativity in this community.
I hope so. Yeah, that's all.
That is incredible. That is a long list of things to do. You have so much to do. And you've said yourself, your schedule is completely packed.
Mm-hmm.
How do you maintain motivation?
I'm the most efficient person. Like I get my work done and on the weekends, like there are certain things I have to do. I have to go pick up tacos every morning at 8:30 to deliver to Kettner.
Mm-hmm.
But once that's over, I am not working as much as possible. So I don't know. Again, like I just love it. Like for now, in 5 years, this might be like, I'm done. But it is so fun for me. Like, and I've gotten better at realizing my tipping points and doing that self-care. Like I need to just put the computer down and take myself to dinner and have a glass of wine. But for now, I'm like fired up. I think Nashville has created a place for young creatives to do that also. Like it just opens doors that other cities don't. And I'm trying my best to give back and provide a place for people like me that want to start new things or try new things and like in an affordable way.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's all I'm trying to do.
One more serious one,
Okay.
and then I have a couple fun ones.
Okay, cool.
What do you think is the biggest challenge for creatives today?
Everyone's a creative. So everyone is a freelancer, a content creator, a publicist. It's saturated. Like, I think back to social media, there's been this sort of like glamorized thing about being an entrepreneur or working for yourself. And I think people are jumping at like, I would never have my business if I didn't work for the PR firms I worked for in the past. And I think people are skipping that step. And while some might make it, I think they also need to like work and work hard
Mm-hmm.
and learn what agencies or other graphic designers have been doing for a long time and like study it. And yeah, I see people like jumping out a little too soon.
This seems to be like a unanimous answer
Really?
on the podcast.
Yeah, interesting.
Because it's a unanimous answer, I always like to follow up with what would you recommend that creatives do so that that big challenge of
Mhm.
everything being saturated, of like there being so many tools that you can do anything really quick.
Mhm.
What do you recommend that creatives do in like a step-by-step order
Yeah.
to get to where they want to be, to gain the experience they want to be, etc.?
I would say like find who you want to be in 10, 15 years and see if you can work with them. My first boss is still a mentor to me. Her name's Audrey. She was like my first real job. I still call her and text her. And I hope to provide that to girls that come through our office as well. But yeah, I would say like find people that want to invest in you, but you have to provide something to them. Like you have to, I don't know, there's like this work ethic, like people, I think younger creatives, and I work with them a lot, think that it's going to be handed to them. And I'm like, I am going to work you. But they all leave being like, I will be hired tomorrow because I was really part of a team and I wasn't getting coffee. And the ones that don't work hard, I'm like, you should go in a different direction because it's not going to be handed to you. And it's harder than any other job to be on your own and stay consistent in incoming money if you're a freelance creative,
Right.
especially.
Great
Yeah.
piece of advice. That is so, I mean, I do think
Like
it's so
work,
important
get a job.
that the craft aspect of things does not get overlooked.
Mm-hmm.
We do have these incredible tools. I mean, everyone has the opportunity now to take high resolution photos
Right.
or tell a certain story and get it out to the masses. Do a podcast. I mean, the gear in this room
Mm-hmm.
is so capable and makes it so easy for
Yep.
us now, where 10 years ago, 15 years ago, it was a completely different story.
Right.
But to really lean into the craft and the experience of others and forming relationships and learning some of the human elements of it,
Mm-hmm.
I 100% agree.
That was going to be the only other tidbit is like, y'all don't burn bridges. Oh my gosh, you don't know who will be in charge someday. Like, don't get too fancy and be kind and network to every single person you possibly can. Anyone that will shake your hand, shake it and
Mhm.
go to every networking event and go to every free speaking thing because that's what's going to get you ahead. Even if you have two people that are the same level of creativity and skill, the person that has the relationships is the one of value. And I think people forget that, like you said, that human aspect of it.
All right. Are you ready for a couple fun
Fun
ones?
questions, yeah.
First one. Is there a parable or a children's tale or character that you relate with or that you see yourself in?
The only thing as a child I loved was The Little Mermaid, so no.
You're not Ariel?
I mean, in my like shower, maybe. You know what's so weird? We didn't really like, I don't think I was a nerd, but like we didn't really watch. I don't know. I don't like remember my childhood very much. There was nothing traumatic. I just like have a bad memory long term. I think 'cause I'm trying to remember so much currently. So I don't think I have a good answer for you.
That's okay.
The only book I remember as a child is like, I love you for always. I
Yeah,
like you
yep.
forever. My mommy you'll be or something. I remember my mom doing
I
that.
like you forever. I
I'll
love you for always.
always. As long as
As long
you're
as I'm with
living.
you,
Or yeah,
my
my
baby
baby
you'll
you'll
be.
be.
That's what it was.
I
Yeah.
remember that book. That's all. I'm that child.
So you're that child, I guess.
Apparently.
That's who you have to be now. You don't get another answer.
If you see me, sing that to me.
Instant connection. All right. Second fun question. What is a skill that you wish you were extremely proficient at and why?
In design.
Oh,
Oh my gosh, y'all. Like I can bring a brand to life verbally and in sketches, and I can direct it, but I cannot for the life of me. It takes me so long to put together a presentation that would take Lisa from my partner at Brand House literally 5 seconds. And that's how we divide up. Like she'll put in all the visuals and like plug it in on the platform, and then I'll type the content. But yeah,
so like the
it's-
creative suite.
yes,
Being able
I
to
need
make something visual.
Yeah,
And
that's really specific, but like I'm
no,
horrible at it. I make my interns show me the same things over and over. I don't know why. Yeah.
that's
So
a
that
good answer. So if anybody wants to reach out
in design classes.
and help you with that, how could they get a hold of you and get in contact with you?
You can always reach me on Instagram. I'm _hello HSC. And then email hannah@brandhouse.com, BRND. Or you can come into Kettner. I'm always there. And just say hi and introduce yourself.
Definitely do that. Their coffee is amazing. It's my favorite coffee atmosphere
Aw.
on the east side here in Nashville. I'm sure we have some listeners from out of state. So if you ever come to Nashville, that needs
Come
to
on
be your
over.
first stop. Any final thoughts?
No, this was so fun. Thank you.
So great. Thank you so
if
much
I
for being.
didn't answer anything well enough, let me know.
No, all of your answers were very genuine and authentic.
Cool.
It's been so great to have you on.
Amazing.
So thanks again. And hopefully everything goes well with all of your incredibly
We hope.
insane amount of endeavors.
Thank you so much. We'll see.
I want to thank Hannah again for being on the show, and I hope she's encouraged you to dive into the opportunities you have and passions you discover. Make sure to subscribe to our show so you don't miss future episodes, and help us build a healthy and collaborative community of creators by sharing this with someone who could use some words of inspiration today. And lastly, I want to thank our team here at Soundstripe for making the show possible. If you don't know who we are, Soundstripe is a subscription-based music licensing company that provides unlimited music to subscribers for all video and creative needs. If you need music for your podcast or YouTube channel, vlog, your radio show, your film, anything, go to soundstripe.com to learn more about our amazing library of music and sound effects. We also create and curate a ton of inspirational and educational material that's featured on our blog and our socials. With everything we do, our mission is to keep creatives creating. So once again, thank you all for joining us this week. Hope you join us again next time. And remember, no matter what, keep creating.